Welcome to the Salesforce Admins Podcast, where we talk about product, community, and career to help you become an awesome admin. I'm Mike Gerholt, and joining me today is Niket Trivedi, PM for Salesforce Optimizer, to talk about what's new in Salesforce Optimizer, and there's a lot in Summer 20. So Niket, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Mike, and thanks for having me.
Niket, I think you've also now been on Release Readiness Live, and you're on the podcast. So there must be a lot going on with Salesforce Optimizer. But before we get to that, let's talk about your journey to Salesforce. How did you come to Salesforce, and what are some of the things that you've worked on since you've been here?
Yeah. So thanks, Mike, for the introduction. And I would like to give a little bit of background. So Salesforce has been in my career path in the last almost close to 2 years. I have been in product management roles for most of my career. I started my career as an engineer, but quickly pivoted into product management. I've been in mostly consumer type of products like e-commerce and worked for a couple of startups. But I realized that enterprise product is something which I really want to get my hands on. Mm-hmm. And that's what really attracted me to Salesforce. Salesforce is one of the best companies in the enterprise space. It's growing fast and it's great culture. And that's what really brought me to Salesforce. And since I've joined Salesforce, I have actually worked on a lot of areas which are product adoption related things that we help people adopt products the right way, help them optimize it. And one of the big areas is Salesforce Optimizer. So Salesforce Optimizer is a product that I've owned for almost 2 years now. And we have done some amazing stuff that we'll talk about. But yes, that's what I've been doing. There are a lot of other adoption areas which are probably related to Optimizer. But yes, I would like to keep focus on Optimizer for now.
Yeah, so would I. So we were talking before I pressed record about how for, 8-10 years now, I've wanted everything that's in Optimizer that I'm seeing now in Summer 20. But I think probably the first introduction that admins got to Optimizer was as a report that got put into their docs and I think emailed to them. And that's the first version that we saw. Am I correct? You're shaking your head. Yes. Okay.
That's absolutely correct. Yes.
And that was pretty helpful. Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed printing things off and sharing them with my executives and talking through things, but it wasn't as actionable, I think, as what we're going to see now in Summer 20. So let me tee you up for what is the great Summer 20 Salesforce Optimizer release?
Yes. So Summer 20 Optimizer release is all about making Optimizer recommendations even more reachable and actionable, as you said, to our customers, to our admins. And what we are doing is we are relaunching, in a sense, Optimizer as a Lightning app, which is awesome. I think it's a big, big deal. I feel very happy and proud of what the team has done to bring it to the point where we are right now. But at the same time, I'm really looking forward to all the great feedback that we'll get from admins and the value they can get out of these recommendations that were previously in a PDF report. And now you can consume it in a brand new interactive dashboard format like a Lightning app.
Yeah. And we saw part of that in the admin keynote at Dreamforce this last year. And I remember thinking to myself, holy cow, when we walked through that demo, it was so incredibly useful. You have list views now of everything, and you can sort and resort, and you're not scrolling through a PDF. So bring me on that journey. Like, what was that? What did your team think through when they're, looking at how do we take this page and essentially make it actionable?
Yeah. So those are exactly the challenges that you described are very obvious. If you think about any offline report that you're reading. I mean, it may have great information, but in this day and age where we are all so hooked up to screens and we want to be more and more efficient, we want the exact action that we need for the next 5 minutes, or we don't want to read a 100-page document to get to something that we want to act on. And that was the impetus for Optimizer Lightning app. Like, we wanted to give something to admins where they are spending less time scrolling through the report and more time fixing things in the org. So as we designed this, we kept that in mind and making sure that all those challenges that admins might face going through the PDF report are solved, and they can do a lot more with all the things that they can do with the Lightning app, with being it in core, your data is in the core, and whatnot. And we can talk more about it, but I think this is just the beginning for what you can do with this.
Yeah, I think you're teasing it out. So tell me more. Like when I go into, I remember what Optimizer was as a PDF, but now as an app, what am I going to see? Like, what are some of the things that I can begin to report on or look at in this app?
Yeah. So in this first version, what we have tried to make sure that we bring the value of all the recommendations that were existing in the PDF report. So we had about 50 plus different recommendations that come out of the PDF report. So we wanted to make sure that we get as close to those recommendations and not lose the value of those. That was the focus in this release, and bring it as close to at par with the PDF so that admins can start trying the Lightning app and rely less on the PDF report. But also focus on bringing all the great resources, like you have any help content, for example, if you have any resources, if you have access to any accelerator programs, all of that was made available right in the same page for the recommendation that you're viewing. So making sure your experience is very efficient and making sure you get everything in a single view. And if you want to fix something, if you want to go to a setup page for a recommendation, you just click a link in the app, you're taken to the org for that particular setup. You come back and your transition from the Optimizer app to the rest of your org is very seamless, and you're not spending time, doing an offline analysis and coming back to the your org and back and forth. So we try to minimize that friction, if you will, and bring the power of the data in admin's hand.
Wow. So it's a lot more intuitive is what I hear. When I read the recommendation, I click the link, I'm taken to that part of setup, right? Where
Correct.
I can actually take action on it and then go right back into Optimizer as opposed to reading the PDF and then having to figure out where to configure that in the org.
That's very true.
So what are some things that as an admin, the first time I jump into Optimizer, I should maybe prioritize looking at if I didn't run the PDF before?
Yeah, that's a good question. So as I said, Optimizer has close to 50 different recommendations.
Wow.
And depending on your org, you may or may not have, issues in all areas, but you definitely have something that you want to act on. And what we have done is prioritize that list in the order of where you need the most attention. So that list, when the dashboard loads first time after the first scan is over, it is pre-sorted by how immediate actions are needed for each of those items. So the top of the list will show you everything where it requires your immediate attention. And then there are items that are less attention. And then there are items that just require review. And then there's a whole set of things that may be working excellently fine in your org and you don't need to change anything. So we have tried to make it easy so that you're again not scrolling through a list on a dashboard and just start handling the items from the list from top to down.
So this really helps me prioritize where to put my attention in my org, in addition to rolling out new functionality, is what I hear.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So that's correct. I think again, it depends how often you have run Optimizer in the past. And if you have not, like when you run it for the first time, you might be discovering things that you have not realized probably have been lurking in your org, and you have those options now to go and investigate them further. At least we have brought it to your attention.
Yeah.
And of course, it's easy for you. The first step is done. Now you can take the next few steps to go and find it and fix it.
I think that brings up a good question. So how often should I look at Optimizer and, based on what I'm working on? Like, Do I run this every day? Do I look at once a month?
Yeah. So it really depends on your needs. At a very minimum, if you have an org that you're not doing a lot on, I would recommend running it at least once every major release. That's the minimum I would say. But I don't think I've seen any admin just doing the minimum. I think every org is pretty busy when people have a busy org with scaling issues and things they are building as applications over time. I think the other set of recommendation is every time you release something new, like a new application or making any major changes, you definitely should run Optimizer and see if there are new issues that will pop up as part of this new application development that you have done. So yes, as often as you need, at a minimum, run it with every major release, with every new application development. Run it in Sandbox if you feel you're doing some development in Sandbox and would like to bring it back to your production org. And I would say a good idea would be to run it at least once every 2 weeks or once a month. It doesn't cost you anything. It's a click of a button. So it's very simple. So I would say those are my recommendations for how often.
Yeah, I like that. You can set yourself a calendar reminder, grab some lunch, run Optimizer, scroll through your results. It's like getting a monthly report card.
Exactly. Your TPS report.
Touche. Good job with that one.
Yeah.
Speaking of TPS reports, who should we share the Optimizer reports with? Like, as an admin, I've run this, I've looked at it. What should my next steps be?
So again, every org is different. Every org is, the structure of how people report into each other is different. So I'm not going to make a general, like a specific recommendation, but I'm going to speak broadly.
Sure.
Whosoever cares to look at the results and are trying to make a decision based on the results. So for example, let's say you have a really active and growing org and you have file storage limits that are getting consumed like anything. Yeah. And you need to go for bigger limits. Now, bigger limits might require you to go to Salesforce and ask for like an upgrade, or there could be other areas in your org that might require upgrades. So that might require you to have some budget approvals. There are certain things you can probably do on your own. There are a few other things that admins may have to reach out to their execs and their management chain. So whosoever benefits from getting a decision done to eventually make your org more efficient and keep it scalable and productive for your users, I think that's what matters. But at a minimum, to set your priorities, I think a lot of admins have used Optimizer to set their priorities and discuss with their managers, hey, this is what is Optimizer telling me. I would like to prioritize my next few weeks based on this, to sharing it with your immediate manager or anyone else in your cross-functional areas, maybe with your business leaders, that, hey, I'm seeing slower performance on these account pages. So to help you guys, I'm going to prioritize this. So sharing the data with those team members may be helpful so that they understand what you are busy with and how you are adding value and making your end user experience as efficient and productive as possible.
I love that. You can proactively have career conversations around how you're improving the performance of everyone at the organization just by running Optimizer. And I'm also thinking, if you're a new Salesforce admin coming on board to an organization maybe that already has an org, this is a great way to kind of get a snapshot on, here's what I'm looking at moment in time from day one as I get started, and it can help me prioritize as well.
Yes.
I would be curious, you mentioned in the beginning that you've done a lot of product management, you were in engineering. I love to kind of get one layer deeper. I'd love to know what was a fun part of moving Optimizer from PDF to this app that kind of was really exciting for you in this.
Yes. So there are a lot of fun things and things that we discovered that we ourselves were not aware of. PDF report itself has been so well adopted, but it's like peeling an onion. When you have a product that's been around for a few years and you're trying to, totally redefine it, I think it just uncovers a lot of things for the team. Even the engineers who probably worked on the very first version of the report are nowhere around here. Like they probably moved on to other projects. So we uncovered a lot of things that we ourselves as team, like we were not aware of. Oh, this is how it works. So it was learning. It was fun. It was like, wow, it was kudos to the original team that did this work. And in some cases, you're like, okay, why did they do this? And we're trying to do archaeology. We are trying to understand that, okay, we understand the rules. We understand why we need this to give this to the admin, but it could be done a different way. So there were discoveries. There were like ideas that were thrown around all over the place, but it was very interesting the last few months as we dig it up and try to rebuild it, if you will.
Yeah, I could envision that. And much like redoing a house. Once you pull the drywall off, you question why somebody would do that.
Exactly.
And of course, to them, it was completely logical. Well, this is very cool. I will be sure to include in the show notes a link to the release notes for the part of Optimizer, because I was reading through them the other day. I cannot tell you how excited I am for this and the amount of possibility it brings for admins to have those positive career conversations with their executive sponsors, with their stakeholders around this. And for me, if I was thinking of this from an admin perspective to help me really prioritize the work that I need to get done, in addition to the new features and functionality, I mean, this is the check engine light, I'll say, that we've been waiting for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you did mention that so-called use case where almost every admin has gone through in their life, which is they take over a new org, and there you go. They are clueless, like what's going on, and they have to get ramped up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And in a lot of the cases, they have no one to tell them or help out, why certain things are the way they are. And they are so scared to make a change because they don't know if something is going to break. So, and this is the tool. It's like a Swiss Army knife. Like it does like hundreds of things for you and helps you uncover or discover those things. It's like an X-ray, if you will, go into the insight under the hood and help you find those issues.
Yeah. That's a great analogy. And it's an X-ray that'll only get better in time. Now that we have this Lightning app in our orgs, I am envisioning there's going to be new releases to it come winter, come spring 22, I think, if I'm doing the math right. Summer 22, there's it's even more things that can help admin. So I'm very excited. So thank you to your team and everyone who worked on this new I cannot tell you how exciting this is going to be, just to have that next level of insight and prioritization. It's something I've looked forward to. So I appreciate it. And if you want to learn more about all things Salesforce admin, go to admin.salesforce.com to find more resources. And as a reminder, if you love what you hear, pop on over to iTunes, give us a review. I love sharing all those positive reviews with our team. You can stay up to date with us on all things social. For Salesforce admins, we are at Salesforce Admins No I on Twitter. And of course, you can find me on Twitter. I am at Mike Gerhold. And with that, stay tuned for our next episode, and we'll see you in the cloud.